Robert Groden walked into court believing he might still have one last chance to keep his home. But by the time he stood before the judge, the situation was already far more complicated than a simple landlord-tenant dispute. The case was Robert Groden versus David Groden. A conditional dismissal had been prepared, and Robert had already signed it. Under the agreement, he would be allowed to remain at his parents' property until the end of January, but after that deadline, he would have to leave. Still, Robert asked the judge for permission to speak. He explained that his relationship with his parents had been difficult for years. According to him, things had once been very different, especially with his mother. He described having a supportive relationship with her when he was younger, but said everything changed after the family moved and his mother began struggling with serious depression. Robert said his mother spent much of his high school years dealing with her condition, including periods of inpatient treatment. During that time, he claimed, his father became the dominant figure in the household. Robert described his father as controlling and intimidating and said the family environment had deeply affected him. He believed the constant pressure contributed to his own struggles with anxiety and depression. He told the judge that before those problems began, he had been an exceptional student. But as the family situation deteriorated, his performance in school suffered. Robert said he eventually began to believe that his father had used his position of authority over him in a harmful way. Years later, he entered a serious relationship while attending college, and he said that experience made him realize just how much his childhood environment had influenced the direction of his life. After graduating, Robert returned to the family home hoping to rebuild his life. Instead, he claimed the conflict with his parents continued. He told the court that he experienced ongoing pressure, threats that he would be forced out, and attempts to remove him from the property without following proper legal procedures. He also alleged that his father had physically assaulted him. Robert acknowledged that his legal position was weak. He said he had contacted attorneys and tried to find someone who could represent him, but the lawyers he found were beyond what he could afford. He also said he had suggested mediation to his parents, hoping they could find some kind of agreement instead of fighting in court. According to Robert, his parents rejected that approach. He said they had characterized his way of understanding the family situation as evidence of mental illness, even though, as he emphasized to the judge, he had never received such a diagnosis. Robert also told the court that he had offered to pay rent in an effort to remain at the property, but his parents had refused. From Robert's perspective, the eviction was not simply about housing. He believed it was another chapter in a much larger family conflict. Then the judge interrupted him. The judge asked a simple but important question: did Robert still want the court to enter the conditional dismissal? Robert admitted that he had signed the agreement. The attorney representing the other side confirmed it. He explained that Robert had signed the document in court and had even emailed a signed copy to their office before the attorney arrived with the physical version. The attorney then argued that there was no genuine issue requiring a trial. According to him, Robert had been properly given notice to leave, the required period had expired, and Robert did not have a lease giving him an ongoing right to remain at the property. The judge then turned directly to Robert. There were several possible paths forward, the judge explained. The court could enter a judgment, potentially leading to an eviction much sooner. The judge could also schedule a trial, but only if there was an actual legal issue that needed to be decided. The third option was the conditional dismissal already signed by Robert. The judge wanted Robert to understand exactly what that meant. The judge explained that even if Robert went to trial and successfully proved everything he had described about his relationship with his parents, even if the court accepted his account of emotional abuse, intimidation, and the effect the family environment had on him, that still would not necessarily change the question before the court. The issue in this case was possession of the property. The judge explained that Robert's allegations might concern a serious family conflict, but they did not establish a legal right to remain in the home under the tenancy issue before the court. In other words, the judge was drawing a line between two completely different questions. What happened inside the family was one question. Who legally had the right to possess the property was another. Robert then asked whether there could be a separate legal claim based on the harm he believed his parents' behavior had caused him over the years. He asked about the possibility of a tort or personal injury case connected to what he described as the damaging parent-child dynamic. The judge asked what personal injury Robert was referring to. Robert mentioned the impact he believed the family situation had on his mental health and his missed opportunities, particularly during high school. The judge made it clear that the eviction case was not the place to resolve those broader allegations. If Robert believed he had another legal claim seeking compensation or some other remedy for the way he believed his parents had treated him, that would have to be addressed through an appropriate legal action. This court could not use the eviction proceeding to settle the entire history of the family relationship. The judge then returned to the immediate decision. Robert had a choice. He could refuse the conditional dismissal and allow the court to make a decision on the case, knowing that a judgment could be entered against him and that the timeline for leaving could be much shorter. Or he could accept the conditional dismissal and receive additional time to leave the property. After hearing the explanation, Robert made his decision. He told the judge that he would accept the conditional dismissal. The judge then carefully confirmed the terms. Robert understood that he was required to vacate the property by January 31st. He also understood that if he remained after that deadline, his parents could return to court and seek an order allowing them to have him removed from the property. The judge further confirmed that Robert had been informed of his right to rescind the agreement within the applicable 3-day period. Robert said he understood. The judge asked one final time whether he had any questions about the conditional dismissal. Robert said he did not. With that, the judge formally conditionally dismissed the case. Robert had not received the outcome he originally hoped for. His allegations about his family relationship had not been decided in his favor or against him because the judge was not ruling on those broader issues. Instead, the court focused on the narrow legal question that brought the parties there in the first place, possession of the property. And with Robert agreeing to leave by the end of January, the courtroom dispute came to an end, for the moment. The case is a reminder that a courtroom can hear only the legal issues properly before it. A person's entire family history may explain why a conflict exists, but explaining the conflict and legally resolving it are not always the same thing. What do you think about the judge's decision? Was the conditional dismissal a reasonable compromise, or should Robert have been given a chance to take the matter to trial? Like the video and subscribe for more real courtroom moments.